As you can tell by the title of this video, today we are talking about how long it took us to get started as travel therapists after graduating from DPT school. Let's get into it.
So some of you might be wondering, what does the timeline look like for being a new grad physical therapist or new grad therapist, graduating, taking your national boards, and then starting your first travel therapy contract? That was definitely a question we had, as we didn't want to have to wait around too long.
Yeah. And especially during COVID, you're probably wondering how that's impacting things too.
So today we're going to share kind of how long it took us to start out, and hopefully you can glean some knowledge from it.
Yes. Now, keep in mind we were finding 2 jobs together, so that does affect the timeline a little bit. Usually as one solo traveler, you can find jobs quicker.
Definitely. Because as traveling as a pair, you got to find 2 jobs in close enough vicinity that you can commute to.
Yep.
So, finding 2 jobs compared to finding 1.
So, we graduated in December of 2019. We had a 6.5-year program, and that took us all the way around to the winter. So that's when we graduated. We took our boards in January of 2020 and got our results back on February 4th, 2020. I remember because that's my dad's birthday, and that's the day we found out. Now, we got good news. We passed, and that definitely speeds along the process. But we felt very prepared from our schooling and from our study materials.
You can kind of check out what we were going through and how we were studying for the NPTE from a video that we created around that time up here.
Nice. I forgot about that one.
Yeah. So we got our passing scores on February 4th, and that's when we could finally start the official job search for our first travel therapy contract. Now, to let you guys know, we had been in talks with our 3 different recruiters by then. All the nitty-gritty paperwork and information of like, here's our name, here's our updated resume, was already into them. So as soon as we got those results back, we could shoot our recruiters a text message and say, find us that job. So that was prepared before it. So if you're a new grad watching this video, that might be some things you can look at considering, trying to already connect with recruiters.
And we would say that's a huge tip, is to reach out to recruiters 1 to 2 months before your graduation or before your test, whatever you feel more comfortable with, and get as much paperwork into them as you possibly can, because travel therapy jobs go quickly. So you want to be able to have everything ready, and the only thing that you need to do is just have your recruiter click submit for that job that you're interested in. So that's a huge tip that we have, is get everything you can ready. As soon as you get that license in hand, you can start looking.
And getting set up with the recruiter doesn't necessarily pigeonhole you into, well, now I have to take a contract with that specific recruiter. Like I said, we were working with 3 different recruiters, 3 different companies, and only one of those companies was going to get us a contract. And so, but
Or
it's good
2.
to get.
I mean, there's 2 of us.
But it's good to get your information in there, and they are understanding of that.
So what ended up happening for us is we got our passing scores on February 4th. We started looking for 2 jobs in close proximity, and then we landed our first contracts on February 28th of 2020. And then we started working in the beginning of March, on March 12th. So in total, it took us 3 weeks of job searching.
Which, to be honest, felt like an eternity.
Yeah.
We were so nervous. We were seeing our other classmates in permanent jobs who were basically already working them before they passed their board exam on a temp license. And so it felt like we were doing something wrong just to wait 3 weeks.
I know. Looking back, it's like it was only 3 weeks, but it felt like eternity while we were waiting.
Now, we should also say that we entered the market at a tricky time. So most people graduate in May, at the end of spring. Right at the beginning of summer.
Yep.
And we graduated in the winter. If you don't understand the travel therapy market, we'll kind of explain how that works, because come winter time, all the companies who usually hire on travelers, they're looking at their budgets for the next year and seeing, do we have the funds to bring on a traveler? Do we have a lot of patients that need to be seen and not enough permanent therapists? So we need to kind of fill that gap. And so there's this kind of lull in the job market around the winter time, and especially right at the beginning of the year, January, February, into March even. So not only were we hitting it at the winter time of the year when there's a lull, but we were hitting it during a payment change
that was the other
time
thing.
of year. This was when PDGM was coming in, and that is your patient-driven grouping model. And so that was hitting companies, and facilities were unsure, what is our reimbursement going to look like? So they were a little less willing to bring on travelers because they just didn't know what their bottom line was going to be. So to keep the story rolling, we came in, there was about 1/3 of the jobs available, but we got 2 jobs in Montana, our first contract. We went out there, and then this thing called COVID, I don't know if you've heard about it, it hit. And so that really depressed the travel therapy market even further. And so we were seeing probably 90% less jobs during the peak COVID times this last summer. So thankfully we signed on to a 6-month contract. And so we were able to kind of ride that out, but you just weren't seeing as many jobs, because what happened was, one, all the orthopedic surgery stopped, right? We were doing no elective surgeries in our hospitals, and working with, hip replacements, knee replacements are a big thing for at least the physical therapy job market. And so that need was gone. You had a lot of hospitals and a lot of clinics having to furlough or lay off their employees. And so those employees were looking for jobs. So they went to the nearest travel therapy job. And so those were filling up. So like I said, there was probably about 90% less jobs.
Yeah. And that was in the middle of summer 2020. And I would say by September, recruiters were telling us that the job market was down by about 75%. So if you compare that to what we started with a market with 33% availability of jobs. And in September, they were saying there's 25% availability of jobs. So it's still down from where we started, but it's not far.
Nope, and it's slowly coming back up.
So hopefully that gives you a little context to try and evaluate and analyze how long you think it might take you to get a job. Remember, looking back, it only took us 3 weeks to find 2 with only 33% availability, and we've been told it's 25 back in September and going up. So we're hopeful that it will continue to go up. It's definitely something to consider right now as a new grad. How easy is it going to be able to get into the market? But we are hopeful.
So to wrap up this video, we're going to leave you with 3 things to consider as new grads going into this travel therapy market. 1 would be stay patient.
Assume that it's going to take you about 3 to 4 weeks to find your first contract, at least.
Yeah, so whatever you have to do to prepare for that, whether it's, okay, I'm going to move back home right after graduation, or make sure my lease doesn't come up before then, consider that and buy yourself time to be patient, because then it'll take a little less stress off you. The second thing is be flexible. There's 3 things we always tell you to consider before trying to take a contract or looking for a travel therapy contract, and that is your pay, the location of the contract, and the setting of the contract. Now, typically we say, pick 2 of those things and be lenient on 1, but you're going to have to be flexible on all 3.
Recognize that you're not in a position right now to really negotiate or to turn down one job offer in the hopes that there's another one coming.
Yeah, just due to the climate of the job market. The third thing is make sure you are hooked up with good recruiters. We can't stress this point enough. Recruiters will make and break this experience for you. And you want a recruiter that you can contact even outside of business hours most of the time, and they'll get back to you at a good time.
One that's trustworthy and honest and transparent about the job market.
Yeah, so if you're like, I would really like to work in outpatient, then it's good to have a recruiter that will be honest with you and say, hey, there's no jobs right now looking in outpatient in that state that you're looking at, and just be upfront with you. Not rude, but upfront with you. And so it's always good to have good recruiters. And like we always say in a lot of our videos, we'd be happy to recommend the recruiters we work with and trust, who were even recommended to us. And so just shoot us an email. We'll put the email down in the description or below here on the screen. Our email is jointmovementdpts@gmail.com.
Yeah.
So those are the three things.
Yeah, so we hope today's video is helpful for you. It gives you a little insight on how long it took us to find our first job. We hope that it helps you kind of formulate what to expect in your own journey. And we thank you for being here and watching today. If you liked this video, please like it. Leave a comment down below if you have any questions. And until next time, we'll see ya.
See ya.